Level 1 of the Backrooms is quite literally a top 5 famous level of all time. Literally is the second one in the order of the lore, and everyone knows about it to some degree. But just like most places inside of the Backrooms, there's more to this one than meets the eye. And in this case, that means sub-levels. Specifically, sub-level 1.2, also known as the Concrete Garden. That is what I'll be talking about today, and let me tell you, it might look really pretty on the outside, but you're gonna figure out that it might be the worst mistake of your life if you end up going here. Anyways, with that amazing intro out of the way, without more yapping, let's go ahead and get into the explanation of level 1.2. Shall we? Level 1.2 of the Backrooms is also known as the Concrete Garden, and it was discovered firstly way back in 2012 by a few explorers sent from Meg. Now the level itself has not been given a classification graphic yet, so I'm just gonna have to give it one myself, and I'm gonna give it a class 4E environmental rating because of how bad things can get if you are not careful when you visit this place. Now as we already know, level 1 is this concrete parking garage warehouse style building full of different colonies, different supplies, and yada yada yada. I've even gone over some of its sublevels before, but never this one. When level 1 was first explored, no one really thought there was natural life to it. It's just concrete with no sunlight, and that's it. But all that changed when this sublevel was discovered back in 2012. The Concrete Garden appears to be the same layout and the overall vibe as most parts of level 1 do as well. There's hallways, there's rooms, there's corridors, there's concrete halls and everything like that. Nothing too crazy yet. The main and the only real difference to the actual layout is that instead of being kind of cramped and dark, these areas in level 1.2 are full of light, full of vegetation, and natural plants. The floor of the level is home to a thick carpet of grass with various forms of flowers and other plants sticking out from that. Now, this grass is thought to grow directly into the concrete below, which is pretty interesting. Alongside the walls and the pillars in this sublevel, there are huge vines that wrap around, and sometimes they even hang above you as a ceiling. Essentially, this small subsection of level 1 is overgrown with any kind of plant you can think about. And instead of being just dark and concrete like the normal level, this one has light poking through. Another thing of note for this sublevel is that there are absolutely no entities here, like none. Now, even the regular part of level 1 has some rare instances where creatures can be scurrying around, but not in this part. In fact, they actually seem to avoid this subsection like the plague. And if that's any indication of how bad it's gonna be, then you should also not come here. I mean, if Smilers are not coming here, then you're probably not gonna survive either. But because of this lack of entities and the overall beauty and the appearance of this sublevel, many people try to come here and set up camp and colonies and stay here, none of whom have ever been seen alive again. And since this is the case, Meg has said that no one should ever try to come to this sublevel whatsoever in any way. Don't try to sleep here, don't try to walk here, don't even look over here. Just ignore it and watch this video if you're curious. If for some reason you decide to ignore that warning from me and the warning from Meg and you come here anyways, what you'll see and what you'll experience is as follows. You'll first, of course, see what I just described. Concrete hallways and open rooms full of overgrown vegetation. The further you walk into level 1.2, the more you'll see though. You'll begin to witness tons of flowers growing out of the concrete. Sunflowers are the most common ones here, but other plants like lilac and lavender and lilies can be seen as well. Entire rooms that are tufted so thick with flowers exist, and these bulbs of flowers are very smelly and they're very big. In fact, this entire sublevel smells like those flowers, and they also emit their pollen. And this right here, folks, is where the first bad part of this experience is going to begin. Essentially, from what I can gather, the pollen from the flowers acts as some sort of sedative and amnesic component to anyone who inhales it. Now, if you remember way back in my 5 Backrooms rules video that you've never heard of, I said as a rule, never smell flowers that you run into inside the Backrooms. And this level, my friends, essentially proves why that's the case. Because the pollen that comes from the flowers here here in level 1.2 gives people who smell it memory loss, muscle relaxing effects, and other amnesic effects as well. So essentially, you'll just wander into this sub-level and you'll start walking around, and just by smelling the air here, you'll begin to get relaxed, your consciousness will start to fade, and the further and further you keep walking, the weaker and weaker each step will become. Everything you knew before the moment of walking in this sub-level will begin to drift away, and nothing else will matter. And just like the levels page itself says, everything progressively will fade into obscurity. And after an unknown amount of time of walking through these flower rooms and grass hallways, you'll begin to get so weak that you lose your consciousness. Now, once you lose your consciousness, one of two things can happen. The first is that you'll fall over and you'll give into the effects of this pollen, you'll pass out, and you'll just be laying on the grass on the floor of the level. If this happens, the level will begin to overtake you and consume you. It'll do this by having its grass, its vines, and its plants essentially wrap around you and drag you inside of them, turning you pretty much into grass yourself. Roots will begin to go inside of your body and sprout out flowers and grass, and you'll become one with the level. This level kind of acts like a spider's web. You know how when a bug gets into a spider web, it'll get stuck there, then the spider will inject it with poison, and it'll go limp? That's pretty much what happens here. Except the entire level is the net, and the pollen is the poison. But essentially, if you give into that pollen, and you smell it, and you get really close to those flowers, you'll just eventually fall over, lose your consciousness, and the level will absorb you, and you'll become one with the grass and plants. The other possible outcome you might experience is that someone will rescue you and drag you away before the grass can take roots inside of you. But that's probably not going to happen. Let's be real. Do not be fooled or tricked by this adorable, pretty, outside, safe-looking level, right? I mean, it's very beautiful to look at. It's flowers, it's sunlight, and everything like that. And people that are on level 1 are probably pretty new to the back room, so they don't know what to expect. But do not be fooled by it. Do not smell the pollen. Do not get absorbed into the grass. Do not turn yourself into a plant, because if you do, your entire journey of exploring the back rooms will just last one entire level. Like, that's all you'll make, is just one level, from level 0 to level 1. Good job! There are no listed ways to find this sub-level, since you already have to be in level 1 to do so. I think you just have to walk around and find it eventually. But again, do not do that, because you don't want to go into the effects of the pollen from the plants here. And as far as exits from the sub-level, again, there are no listed exits. You'll just have to find your way back to a hallway that leads to the regular concrete of level 1, or you'll be consumed and poisoned by the pollen. This sub-level is very, very rare to encounter. It's not like you're going to go to level 1 and walk off and get stuck here. It's something that you only find if you've been lost and exploring the bowels of level 1 for way too long. You'll see these flowers and these plants and stuff as almost an oasis, and that's why you want to walk towards it. But again, after what I just said, you don't actually want to do that. It's a trap. And that's a pretty good metaphor for the entire backrooms. Usually these things are too good to be true, and it's just the backroom's twisted way of playing with you. But now that you've heard the explanation, you know why the entities don't live here and why they don't come here. It turns out that the creatures in the backrooms were finally right about something, and you should avoid it too. Alright, that was it for this level explanation. I do hope you enjoyed it. I always love a good sub-level, especially one that ties into a video that I made before it came out. I must have prophesized the don't smell any flowers in the backrooms thing, because that's exactly what you want to do here. You don't want to smell the flowers. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you have a specific level or anything on the internet that's creepy, horror related that you want me to go over, make sure you leave a like. Thank you so much for all your support. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. Hopefully you guys are ready for this year. Hopefully you all are just having a great day. Thank you so much. With all that said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.